Hey guys, it's day number 3, only 4 this week, so this is insight number 3. So this is Alma chapter 2, and this is Amalici comes in. Now Amalici, not Amalekai, it's different, or Amaliki, different again, Amalici, with a C. Apparently that's how you pronounce it. I'm going with those that went to university for years and did lots of Book of Mormon research and how to say things, so I'm going with that, Amalici. I'm calling this one Life Patterns of Christ, because it came to pass in the commencement of the 5th year, this is verse 1 of chapter 2, a certain man called Amalici, he being very cunning, yea, a wise man as to the wisdom of the world, he being after the order of the man that slew Gideon by the sword. So, although Nehor at the end declared he had lied and he'd done this to better himself and repented of it as he was dying, the people still exist. So that's what I'm saying. The one person, you just need one person. And this is what King Mosiah was saying in the first place. I don't want to have another king. Because what if it goes really wrong? Because it takes one person to screw up a whole lot of people. And you will see this here because Nehor was one. He gathered a few. One of them was Amalici. And Amalici went about and created this whole new group of people and joined up with the Lamanites. The Lamanites that weren't the nice kind of Lamanites, the Lamanites that were warring and bloodthirsty. And you see a terrible war start here. And it's vicious and it's nasty. So it just needs one person to corrupt and create so much ugliness. But Amalici, who patterns his life after Nehor and goes on to do much destruction. So what can we learn from this? The person you follow, again, that king, who is your king, that person you follow will have huge influence on you. Who are you following, for example, on Instagram? Who do you follow when you listen to podcasts? Who's your go-to for these things? Who are you following as friends? Who is in your friend group? Are they people that care for you? Are they people that waste your time? Are they people that always want something from you? Are they people that only contact you when they want something? Or are they people that come around and say, hey, here's some kindness and how you're doing? Like, what is it that's in these people, the life patterns of people? So we read in here a few things. So verse 4 talks about, if it were possible, Amalici would gain the voice of the people. He, being a wicked man, would deprive them of their rights and privileges of the church, for it was his intent to destroy the church of God. He wants a dictatorship. He doesn't want democracy. He wants a dictatorship. At the end of verse 5, having much dispute with wonderful contentions one with another. He crawled a whole lot of people away, very cunning, very wise, told them what they wanted to hear and got them to follow him. And in verse 8, Amalici did stir up those who were in his favour to anger against those who were not in his favour. So this people is living quite favourably, like all interacting. Some are being really churchy, some are going, yeah, it's probably not for me. But they were okay as neighbours, just like my neighbourhood here right now. I have a neighbour who goes to a different church, and I have 2 other neighbours that are not churchy at all. They know we go to church, and actually we're all good. Like, everyone's fine. There's no contention in any of that. But he was causing contention in it. And go down to verse 11. Now the people of Amalici were distinguished by the name of Amalici, being called Amalicites, and the remainder were called Nephites, or the people of God. So again, this one person who followed one other person has come in and managed to draw away a whole bunch of people. And in verse 12 it talks about them going to war, and they armed themselves with every type of weapon they could. Swords, scimitars, bows, arrows, stones, every manner of weapons of war of every kind. And Satan will use all manner of weapons against us now. We don't often see bows, arrows, stones, and scimitars. But what do we see? We see social media ads. We see TV that he sneaks in. We see written material. We see people that are cunning and wise. We'll see food mislabeled to look good and is actually not good for us. We need to be aware of these things. Satan uses all manner of weapons. But here's the good part. Jesus does too. He uses all manner of weapons. And his weaponry range far exceeds Satan's. So keep that in mind. But again, awake and aware is informed. It's great. So they go to war. Big war. In 18, it talks about the Lord did strengthen the hand of the Nephites. They slew the Amalekites with great slaughter, and they began to run away. But they come into war again. In 28, the Nephites being strengthened by the hand of the Lord, having prayed mightily to him that he would deliver them out of the hands of their enemies. Therefore the Lord did hear their cries and did strengthen them. And the Lamanites and the Amalekites did fall before them. So this is after they joined together. And in 30 and 31, let's read this. It says, And it came to pass that Alma, being a man of God, being exercised with much faith, cried, saying, O Lord, have mercy and spare my life, that I may be an instrument in thy hands to save and preserve this people. This is when he's 1-to-1 with Amalici. Scary stuff. This guy is fierce and big. We don't know how big Alma was. And it says this is the two facing off. And when Alma had said these words, he contended again with Amalici, and he was strengthened, insomuch that he slew Amalici with the sword. So he was already injured. He pledged that. Now you look at this. This is life patterns of Christ, because this is Alma the younger that we read about last week, going through all the stuff and being converted and then wanting to go and preach to the Lamanites. But here he is, fighting with Amalici. Yep. And takes him down, because he patterned his life after Christ. Amalici, who patterned his life after Nehor, goes down, because ultimately there's no eternal protection in that. There's no godly protection in that, because you bet donuts to dollars every time you call out and say, Satan, I need your help. He's going to go, why? And it takes me back to the scene in the movie, or is it The Mummy, or The Mummy Returns? Arnold Vosloo. Oof, hottie. But there's a part in there, because he's the bad dude, right? And he's like following the bad Egyptian stuff and doing priestcrafts and things. But he sees it at the end. He's got reasons. But one of his followers who's like committed to him goes, save me, great, And he's like, he turns to him and he's like, why? I can get another one of you. And that's what Satan's like. Jesus, on the other hand, is, as Elder Karen said, relentlessly pursuing us. He wants us back. He will continue to come and find us. So are you going to pattern your life after Christ, or pattern your life after someone who doesn't care, who you don't know, who you're not going to know properly? And when you say, save me, he's going to turn to you and go, why? Jesus won't do that. You call out to Jesus and say, save me, and he's like, I've got you. I'm here. I've got you. So Amalici patterns our life in Nehor. What can we learn from this? So much. Each of us respond differently, and we will never all share exactly the same beliefs. Never going to happen. So how can we live in harmony and still disagree? There are so many ways to do this. If you've got experiences, again, drop them in the comments. Love to hear them. But there are so many different ways that we can give grace and kindness and disagree, but in such a way that we still remain harmonious. I think I've told you about my friend who was Relief Society president when I was in primary president. We would have some real debates in ward council. People would think we were like hating each other. And then we'd be like, okay, that's over. And she's like, you still want to ride home? I'm like, yeah, okay. And we'd walk off down the hallway chatting. And we could do that because we disagreed on the topic, but we still loved each other dearly. And we still do to this day. We are good friends. But we can disagree about the topic and have that discussion. And that is something you can do. And that's within a church setting. So you can take that elsewhere as well. There are ways to do it. Not everyone has to agree 100% on everything. We are going to see it different because we all come with a different lens, from a different perspective, and have different life experiences. But you can still do it amicably and live with each other. Absolutely. Patterns of Christ's life are great examples for learning how to do this. Look at what he did. How did he react when people came at him? When people accused him of things, how did he react? What was his reaction? It was always about making peace. It was always about cleansing an area. And yeah, he lost his temper sometimes. You can see that. Yeah, he got frustrated sometimes, and we can see that. But it was always with love and kindness, and he always went and helped good and did about doing good. And some people really did need telling off, like when he threw the money changers out of the temple. But even then, there's still a way to do that, So love God, love others. We can see others as children of God, if we can, and we can ask to do that. See them how Jesus does, we have much more compassion and much less contention. So if we can pray for that, to see them how God sees them, see them how Jesus sees them, and we can love God and love other people, way more compassion, way less contention. 100%. Totally recommend it. Anyway, there you go. Life Patterns of Christ. Have a look at those. Hang around. We're going to look at Alma 3 and 4. I'll see you there.